Welcome to virtualsheetmusic.com. I'm Robert Estrin presenting a viewer question today. Have you ever noticed that you sometimes have the same exact note written at the same time in both hands? That's right. How can this be? So I want to show you why, first of all, and how to handle such a thing. I wonder how many of you have experienced this in your music. I'd love to hear from you. I've taken the example today of the first two-part invention of Johann Sebastian Bach. Now, this is a good example that really clearly shows why composers will write the same note in both hands. The reason for it is the counterpoint. In this case, it's very well delineated because the two-part inventions are simply two parts. That is, there are never more than two notes playing at the same time. There are two separate melodies. You may be familiar with this invention. Here's the beginning of it. So you notice each hand is playing a separate melody, but somehow, with the genius of Bach, it works together. There's like a tapestry of melodies. Later music of Bach, other music of Bach, I should say, has 3, 4, even 5 voice fugues. Can you imagine with your 10 fingers negotiating 5 separate lines, all doing their own thing? That's a subject for another video for you. In the two-part, though, we can really see why he does this and why he'd write both notes. I'm going to call your attention to bar 13. Here's a beautiful example. I'm going to play each part separately first so you can hear what Bach is writing and how he arrives at this counterpoint. The right hand has this. And it's actually the 8th note that I'm calling your attention to, the E. All right, now what is the left hand doing? The left hand has this. So if I play up to that same note, in the left hand you'll see it's exactly the same E on that third beat. So if we play the hands together, you would actually have both fingers on that E. Well, you don't actually have to play it with both hands. That is the secret. The reason why composers put the notes in both hands is to show you the sensibilities so that when you play it, you'll hear the connection of each voice in your head. So you make sure that that note is a ready part of both lines. Listen to it together and see if you can hear how that E is contained within both voices, just like two people were singing and at one point both sang the same note. Here's how it sounds. If I stop on that E, you'll hear. So hopefully you can hear how that E is part of both the top voice and the bottom voice. And again, to play through the measure, here's how it sounds put together. Now this is just one example and a very, very clear example of how the counterpoint necessitates both hands playing the same note at the same time, even though you don't physically have to put two fingers on the key. Oftentimes in later period music, in the Romantic era, music of Schumann and Chopin and more complex music of Scriabin, Rachmaninoff, Prokofiev, you'll get all sorts of interesting times when both hands are playing the same key, and they are simply trying to show you, as a musician, the sensibility as to what is really going on in the counterpoint. So that's the answer to this question about playing the same note with both hands. You just have to think it and understand the composer's intention, but you don't actually have to play with both hands on the same key. Thanks so much for joining me here at virtualsheetmusic.com. I am Robert Estrin and look forward to seeing you next time.